podcast. I'm so excited about, well, one, to be back. I haven't done a podcast in a few weeks, been so busy with Ponder. It's been insanity. But I'm super excited today because my friend is in town. Literally have never met him in real life before. He has only been like a friend, business mentor over the phone. And he was like, I'm in Duluth. And I was like, oh yeah, you are. I was like, oh yeah, all right. So I just want to introduce my good friend Christian, and he is the InvestLink Social founder, which look it up. Very, very cool. We're going to get more into it a little bit. But our podcast today is going to be Take Care of Business. So I am very excited because we're both pretty awesome. So I think we can give some good advice to anybody really that's listening, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. I think we're going to come up with a lot of good topics in this podcast that maybe will just help move along your dreams and your ideas and your passions and so on and so forth. So yeah, let's get started. I'll have you introduce. I know I already said your name, but go ahead. You can introduce yourself and whatever you want us to know.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the introduction, Peyton. As you can see, I'm a real person, so I'm not just catfishing you over the phone. So, no, as Peyton mentioned, my name is Christian Durfee. I'm the CEO and co-founder of InvestLink Social. We're a social networking platform where we connect founders and investors to assist in the fundraising process. I think I met Peyton probably, over a year ago or something.
Longer than that. I think 2.5 maybe. Yeah, 2.5.
It's been a while, yeah.
Somewhere in that, for sure.
So I'll tell you in on a little secret. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs day in and day out, and Peyton is by far my favorite. Ponder is an incredible idea. It's been so fun to watch it grow and build, and I mean, she's kicking ass, and I love it.
Thank you so much. That is incredible. Anything else? Anything else for your intro?
Anything else for my intro?
It was incredible. I mean,
my favorite color is blue, now turned to green because our logo's green.
That was our original logo, and so I love the colors, and so we had to switch it to orange because I did some research, and orange, like different colors, sparks different areas of your brain.
Yeah.
So like orange, pink, yellow spark that happiness.
Yeah.
And so we changed the logo to pink and orange, and I love it now, but I'm always like, oh, but I like that so much.
So you could even lie too and be like, orange is the only colors dogs can see. That'd be even better marketing.
Yeah, right. And somebody's gonna call me out on it. Like, you idiot! You don't know what you're talking about. Like, do you have dog eyes? No, you don't. Yeah. So I'm super excited. We'll kind of guide this section of the episode into kind of where we both started to where we are now, and kind of move it towards the area of where we want to go, where we want to take it. Like where do we see ourselves, in that amount of time. So
Sure.
With that, how was it like growing up for you? Were you you were in here?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
You're in Duluth. Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up in Hermantown. Had a great childhood. Both my parents and like my paternal grandparents, they were all teachers, so education was always so important within the family. I remember if I got like a C or something, I'd lose all like phone privilege and all that, so I'd sneak around with a laptop emailing people. So also got in trouble a lot in school because I talked a lot. So anyways, so growing up in the Duluth area was great, and I grew up with a lot of really great friends, a lot of friends that wanted to be entrepreneurs or kind of had entrepreneurial spirit in their family, and that's kind of where my love for it came from. So kind of thinking back on it, I remember the first venture that I ever had, it was back in, I was a junior or a senior in high school, and I always wanted to like make something with my hands and sell it. And because we're up north, lumberjack territory, it's like, hey, like let's make some flannels. So
Cool.
Yeah, well, hold on. So I ended up taking like 4 weekends or something. Went to my grandparents' house and learned how to sew. And I sold 2 flannels, got like a photo shoot with them, everything, and then I was like, what am I doing? This takes like 20 plus hours to make one flannel. There's no way I can do this. So there was always the story always kind of resonates with me, and kind of understanding and realizing that basically where ideas are generated and come from through other people. So after the flannel thing went away, I was kind of like, I don't know what to make next. I really want to make something. I know how to sew now. This can't just be some like weird thing that I do. And there was a news broadcaster on Channel 6 News at the time. His name was Norman Seawright, and he was originally from Louisiana, and he was wearing a bow tie. And my grandpa was like, well, hey, flannels aren't going to work out, but like, hey, here's someone who's not from Duluth, so he knows fashion and style. Big subtweet there. Yeah.
Other than leggings and friggin',
Yeah. And so he's like, why don't you make bow ties? So I was like, okay, why not? I bought a pattern, and then basically within a year, I started selling them. Started like selling to kids like for dances or like my like peers. And then I was able to get carried in a few different stores, and I was on like the news channel, newspaper, all of that, and it was like, oh hey, this is kind of fun to do. It's like fun to make a product and like validate it by someone like buying it and wanting it.
Absolutely, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was super fun. I'll never forget my parents were kind of just like, you're crazy. What is this? Like both being teachers and not entrepreneurial, they're like, what? So. That was the first venture that I did. It was called Port Bow Ties. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. bow ties.
So kind of the reason why it stopped was I was way in over my head. Like I was getting large contracts, and again, like I didn't know what I was doing. I was a sole proprietor. Like no clue about it. So ended up going to UMD and ended up kind of scaling it down. So when I was in college, the second venture, I wanted to do something in like subscription kits or subscription boxes, and I noticed that a lot of these kids on campus, they weren't eating like nutritional food, they weren't getting their vitamins and stuff like that. So a buddy and I, we started like a health and wellness kit company. I know. So the first 2 years, nothing's going on. Again, we're like trying, like testing and failing, not knowing what to do. And then the third year, we scaled to over 40 college campuses. We had all these spring break partnerships.
Who are you?
I don't know. My parents don't know either. Like,
what the frick?
Not a teacher.
I had no idea. That was crazy.
So basically, it was a really cool experience. Like, talk about growth again, and it was all about like trying and doing stuff. And I ended up, that's where my first exit came from, like selling my shares of it. But right before that exit, we decided to raise money. And Peyton, if I had no idea what I was doing with the bow ties, I had no clue what I was doing with raising money. I'm just like, I watched Shark Tank one time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get on the phone with Cuban.
Yeah.
He's going to give me $100,000. It's going to be great. So there's still, like, this story always kind of resonates in my head because this brings us to Investing Social. But so we had a few different partners with the health and wellness kits, and they were tech companies and they had raised money. So they were like, hey, you want to raise money? Like, let me connect you to our investor, and then you can talk to him. So I remember, like, I got myself and my 3 other co-founders, like, we were on Zoom, we were dressed in suits, all of that. Like, we were locked in, we were ready.
We were locked in.
We got on the phone with the investor, go through our entire, like, slide deck presentation. And at the end, he was like, hey, numbers look great, traction looks great, product's awesome, but I only invest in tech. And, like, again, like, that just blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean you only invest in tech? Like, again, isn't this Shark Tank?
Yeah, like, it's this Shark
Tank. Why did you make me pitch for 40 minutes? Anyways, so there were 2 things that kind of came up. One was networking is very important and critical. It's about who you know.
Absolutely.
Because I would have never gotten that meeting if I didn't know them.
Absolutely.
And 2, even though it was a great product and a good idea, I just didn't know, or I wasn't fully educated on how to go through this process.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where the idea of Investing Social became to be. We started kind of looking into like numbers, statistics. We found that 82% of founders identified access to capital as a challenge. 82%, so almost 100%.
Bro.
Less than 20% even raise a single dollar that go in and raise. And the social mission that we're building on is less than 2% of women and minority-owned startups even see a single dollar. And there's there's so many inefficiencies within this sector of like raising money or even just business in general
Finding
and scaling
people
it.
that connect with what you're doing and want to invest in it.
Correct.
It's ingenious. I mean, when you first told me about it, I was like, is it out right now? I was like, I could really use it right now. And and that was like 2 years ago. And even right now, like with Ponder getting so much traction and we're getting out there, and you know, I have a game plan put in place, and we're actually above schedule, and it's great. But at the same time, if I could have gone onto your app and been like, boop, 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 your website, and be like, boop, 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 I'm looking for pet-loving investors, like, rescues animals, whatever else. It's just ingenious. And I can't believe somebody hasn't full-scaled it. And that's what everyone says about Ponder, too. They're like, I can't believe it. And I'm like, you literally just said it before I started. Like, I can't believe you got Ponder. And that is how you know that it's gonna grow so much. It's gonna be so impactful, because your mission isn't like, oh, hey, we want to make a ton of money. It's, when I was in this position, I wish I had this, and so I'm creating it, and that's exactly what it is. And it's like, oh, just round of applause, incredible! Oh my gosh!
Oh, thank you.
Just incredible.
I mean,
honored.
That's why we want to do it, is to help founders like yourself. You know, you have an incredible idea. You weren't blessed with this network that a lot of people aren't.
Absolutely.
Right? And like that's the issue. There's, you know, whenever I'm pitching in front of a room or something, I always kind of say at the end, or talking to an investor, it's like, everyone in this room has had like a door open for them, or like a helping hand at one point or another. It's like, we want to be that helping hand.
Absolutely.
And like it doesn't mean that, you know, like without the network, you're, you know, like your idea's wrong or you're bad or anything like that. It's just like,
it's really hard to network. It's to get out. One, you have to have the people skills to have to like be able to go into a crowd and just start talking to people. Two, if you don't know the right places to look and the right people to talk to, or the, you know, things that are gonna put you in the right position. That, luckily, I'm really good at networking. That's like my number one. I think it would be like networking and event stuff, and well, just running, I guess, everything Ponder related. But networking is my favorite thing to do, and it's so effective. And like all those cards, I have those cards, and I have those cards. Those are all people I met at a networking event. And I was literally one person. I would have a conversation, be like, all right, I'm going to go get something to drink, and run into somebody else at the drink table. Yeah. And that's why looking for those networking events, if you're a small, you know, business owner, entrepreneur, something that you're trying to get into, and they have those networking events, like a gathering, whatever, go to it. Get out of your comfort zone. Absolutely. Because you know what? 10 times out of 10, you're going to leave that, and you're going to have at least one person's number you didn't have when you first started. Yeah. So it's very, I mean, it's just it's incredible. I mean, so now you've gone through this, and so Investing Social is something that you have been working on for how long?
Too long.
Amen to that, seriously.
We started with the full formal idea, my founding team and I, back in August 2021, so we're coming up on 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a bit, but, you know, I think that with all good business, and just anything with life in general, it takes time.
Absolutely.
Patience is definitely a virtue, but if you can learn to be patient and continue to work day in and day out, even just kind of on smaller goals, like, things are going to happen at that point.
You know, that's one of the best pieces of advice that you ever gave me, was because I was like, oh, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and then I got to go, and I got to do this. And you were like, slow down.
I'm like, have you heard of Trello before?
Yeah, you're like, have you heard of Trello? I use it literally every day. And, no, my mom also says this. She says, just do the next best thing. So do what you can do next, that whether it's small, whether it's big, whatever you can do in this moment, whatever you can control, do it. And that is so helpful because, I mean, when you are starting a business or looking into starting a hobby or doing your research on a new job, whatever you are, you're going into it blind, and so if you take it one step at a time, you're gonna learn the one piece of information every single time that you put your mind to it, and that's just overall you're gonna have an abundance of knowledge chipping away.
Yeah.
And it's that there's that picture that you see, and it's like what you think goals are, and it's like stairs. Mm-hmm. And then what it really is like a bunch of hills and
and
and it's like, because it's not all ups, it's a lot of downs, it's a ton of downs, and you have to sit there. I remember when I got scammed out of that $8,000, and I was defeated. I mean, I sat in this chair and I just cried, and I was like, I'm not good enough to start this business. I'm not good enough to help these animals. If I can't even get the app out, how am I going to do anything? And I sat there in it for a couple minutes, and then I was like, screw that. I was like, I don't even care. I don't care how much money I lost. I'm going to fight my ass off, because this idea is something that I am so passionate about. And that's when I told you what happened, and you were like, oh my gosh, that is miserable. Let me put you in contact with Outcode. And I was like, okay, Outcode software, what's that? And literally, we just finished the app in April. The most amazing team, so professional. I mean, when we just had our very last meeting, and they said that they'll still do the maintenance and stuff, whatever. And then we need updates a couple times a year, quarterly, I think they said. But they were like, one of my developers, Ashwin, he said, for as long as I work at Outcode, I will be your person for Ponder. He's like, I'm invested, I have a profile, like, I'm in it. And I was just like, you don't find, from my first experience with the developers who scam me to this, it's like freaking night and day.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. I'm so grateful. And to think that how we met was literally through networking. For me, talking to Luke about Ponder's I think when I talked to Luke, I was maybe in the process of fighting to get my code back, or
I think it was even before that.
Yeah,
I think it was still like you had paid them, but they were writing code, but they wouldn't show it to you.
And they were really slow, and it took a really long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was. And he was like, you should talk to my friend, and that's how we connected. And then from there on, I mean, you're just so generous and kind, and you were like, anything that you need. I mean, literally what you just said. You're like, you have your goal and your energy and your passion shows, and I want to support that. Yeah. And that is so important for people, is that support group, that people that you can. Not the people that are like, oh, let's go out and drink, let's go get wasted, and that's the only time they want to hang out with you. The people that are like, okay, those are your goals. How are you going to get to them? Like, these are my goals. This is how I'm getting to them. How are you going to do it? And it's going to be those people that build you up, and it's just so important. And that brings us to community. Like, how important, especially since I've launched. I mean, where are you guys planning? You're just planning to launch, like, all over at once?
Yeah, so I'm currently on a domestic world tour right now. That's what yeah, domestic. No, so on community, obviously our platform is so based on like social communities, messaging, finding basically your tribe, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had moved out to Utah back in like 2022 to start kind of like getting a ground, start like networking, trying to meet people. And then from there, what I did was like establish like a home base there, ground base there, knew a lot of people. I always tried to give to the community how I could. And then from there, you start meeting other people in different ecosystems. I like to call them ecosystems, communities, whatever they may be.
I like ecosystems, for sure.
But like, so then you meet like someone from Las Vegas, then you get invited to those events, and you start meeting more people from Vegas and Dallas. So we do have a few global users on there, so we will be launching international. But
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's so fun to just meet different people and like literally see like the thing that brings me the most joy, and I'm sure you'd probably agree to this and can see this, but it's like when you go to a networking event, right? And this is what I tell a lot of entrepreneurs or potential investors that go to these events. When you're going in and introducing yourself, it's always about like you want them to talk about themselves first because one that shows that you're actually interested in them and you're not just like you're just like
asking like, oh, when did you start?
Correct. And it's not like, hey Peyton, I know you're a big time investor and I'm trying to raise money. I go up and like, hi, my name's Christian. This is what I have. This is what I do. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
like,
it's aggressive. It's too much.
Correct. They're like, truthfully, they don't know you, nor do they have any trust in you, so they're gonna shut down right away.
Absolutely.
Where it's like, if I was like, hi, like, what's your name? To start off, Peyton Christian. It's like, Peyton, what do you do?
Absolutely.
Right? So then like, Peyton, you're able to start talking and like. And just like continuing to like be active listening, asking questions, whatever it may be, and then there's gonna be something in your head that's gonna be like, I've been talking about myself this entire time. What do you do?
Yeah.
Tell me more. And then then that's from a space and where it's like when you're meeting someone, it's like again being in my shoes. How can I be of benefit to you first?
Absolutely.
And it's always like getting that conversation of like, what can I do for you rather than Peyton, what can you do for me? It's like passing it forward and like that's been so fun to build the communities that way.
Literally, I couldn't have said it better. I know it's so hot up here. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
I'm so hot. No, I totally agree. Community is like, and when I was saying that I was really good at networking, that's one of the things I think that I'm the best at is those social cues and like being able to like, okay, let's like this person looks like they want to talk about themselves. Like let's talk. Let's talk. You start and then we'll go to because then they're like, oh, enough about me. What do you do? And that's exactly you said it and it's perfect. And community for me as a small business owner. When I started, I knew nothing. I mean, my dad was a business owner for many, many years. I watched him kind of lead the torch. He was a master electrician. So he worked in Minneapolis for like a big electrical company, but then thought they were charging people too much. And so he started his own business, and his rates were fair. Yeah. Like pay him for the work, pay him for the tools, and then if you want to throw in a tip, go ahead, type deal. Sure. Yeah. And so he helped a lot of people in the community that we were living in, and we were able to move and like go to a new place. And he was always like, my dad was a hard ass through and through. He was a businessman, contractor, electrician, everything you could get. But he had such a good heart, and he helped so many people just because he could. And I think that's where, he's where my love of actually rescuing started. He used to rescue pit bulls, like absolutely not adoptable, shelters, we're going to euthanize them. He would, take them in. We had several growing up. I think we had 4 before I was like 13. And then when I was like 11, we rescued Lucy, who was my best dog. She's a full pit. And she was abused real bad. Oh, really, really bad. And we freaking rejuvenated that dog. She lived till she was like 13. We got her when she was like 3 or 4. She lived on pure love. Like, it was amazing looking at the pictures of her before to now is amazing. And my dad was always like that. He's like, I effing hate cats, but these 2 cats needed a home, and he adopted them. I'm like, Dad, you can't. And then they slept on his like chest. Like, shut up, you love them. And when he passed away, it was really hard. I kind of went into that shell of, I don't really want to do anything. Like, there's nothing that is going to make this grief better. And so I think I'm just going to give up. And my mom was actually like my rock in the losing him process, because it was, I moved back in with her, and she would bring me food. I wouldn't eat it, and she'd switch all the food, and then whatever. And for months I was able to grieve until I finally got on my feet, and I started doing, actually my first job after my dad died was a bartender at a strip club.
Okay.
Awesome. It was so much fun. 10 out of 10 recommend. It was awesome.
Do you have like the strip club announcer voice now?
Oh, I like being fully clothed in a strip club serving drinks is like the highest honor. Like, you're getting so many tips off of nothing. And it's actually why they fired me, because I was making too much money.
Wow, okay.
And I had the dancers very outraged. They were complaining, like, why is this fully clothed bartender? And I have such a good personality, so it's just like, they're here to see girls, yes, but they're gonna buy drinks, and I can talk, so forever. So, it's echoey. I wonder why. Test. Let me know, chat. This is why we have it live. It's perfect.
I love that.
It's very cool. So that's kind of after the strip club and forward. I was like, because I had gone to veterinary school.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to go for, and then he passed, and I was like, F school, that sucks. And that's when I was like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And I was like, I don't want to be in an office. I don't want to sit. I don't want to be sitting at a desk. I want to rescue animals. I want to help save them. So eventually, when I have money to just spare, I will go back to vet school because it's something that I feel like I should really know in my profession. But ultimately, I was like, rescuing animals is my freaking jam.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. Let's check the noise. Oh, it is echoey. Test 1, 2. So weird. So yeah, then I can literally edit.
Technical difficulties.
I bet it was echoey the whole time. That sucks.
We just got some like Lady River ones. Pretty good.
Test. Yeah, it's not too bad.
We're just making a song.
Yeah, drop bass. Drop the bass.
It
almost sounds like one of those like ghost shows. Where it's like the spirit is talking.
Hello. Come through the mic, and then literally so I can edit anything out, which is good. So luckily stream is like your shit together. Test. I think it's fine. We'll see what they say. But yeah, I think that community is just so very important with everything that's starting and stop making fun too much. With Ponder starting, that's my biggest, that's the start of my plan. Community events, community outings, anything that I can get for free, anything that I can get for $100, less, and I've actually been really blessed with a lot of good opportunities with London Productions. They're amazing. I mean, it's a blessing, seriously. But I wanted to start, when you look on the Ponder map, I want it to be in Minnesota and then spread.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it's doing. And it's just like, we're so ahead of the game. And it's just like, I just couldn't have done it without the people that have supported me the whole way.
I love that.
And it really is good. And I think that if you don't have that, then you have to seek it. You have to go seek good people to be around. Otherwise,
Or join investment.
Or hey, join investment
Quick
social.
So let me ask you a question, because like there's a theme that you're talking about here, right? Like through your entire story. Do you remember when I told you the 4 Ps?
Mm-hmm. Like 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
So,
what are the 4 Ps?
this isn't scripted or anything. So the 4 Ps are something that I've come up with throughout my entrepreneurial journey, and it's also working with entrepreneurs and like myself, kind of seeing that there's 4 kind of instances and things that always happen in a successful entrepreneur. So the first one is the most important P. Is this still echoing?
No, I don't know. You're good. It doesn't matter.
So the first and most important P is passion. And that's what like your entire story is. Like you've always been passionate about something, and like that's what like kind of led you to the even like through the depression or through like the $8,000. It was always something where it's like, well, I have a passion to help animals. If I don't make any money off it or don't even launch like whatever, just so like I can go and do that.
Absolutely.
And that's, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have passion for the thing that you're trying to solve, it's going to be very hard to do. You know,
impossible.
I call them, there's the passion project entrepreneurs, and then there's the fidget spinner entrepreneurs. So the passion project ones are like, again, like let's say Peyton has a passion for helping animals. Maybe she like $100,000 in, releases an app, never makes any money for 10 years, but is so content about just releasing that and like helping one lost animal or an animal shelter. And like that's a passion. Whereas the fidget spinners, it's more of like, hey, let's create a Shopify drop shipping store, let's try and chase cash. And again, like those are kind of fly by night. So that's the most important P.
Absolutely.
The second P is persistence. So as you know, as every entrepreneur knows, you're going to get knocked down so many times. times. You're gonna get told no so many times. I mean, I don't have enough fingers and toes to count how many times I've gotten told no, even through like our fundraising or just like how stupid of an idea it was and all of this. And it just, now it's, it's kind of nice to look back and be like, oh, you were wrong. But regardless, it's so, you have to be persistent. You always have to get back up no matter what happens and continue to push on. And that leads into the third P, and that's patience. So, the cliche saying of Rome wasn't built in a day. I have a few more cliche sayings too.
I love that one. It's one of my favorites.
It was built in 2 days. But patience falls in a line with the passion and persistence, right? Like, if you're passionate about your project or your business or your goals or dreams, again, this doesn't even have to be business. It could just be like personal goals. But like, if you're passionate about them and you're persistent to like always getting back up after getting told no or a step back or fall back, patience comes along with it. Because again, like, after doing it for so long, you're gonna put in those 10,000 hours where stuff's gonna start happening no matter what. I think back to my the health and wellness kits. We could have stopped after the first year or the second year or even 2.5 years. But then stuff just started kind of lining up because we were always so persistent and patient about it, and it was a passion. And then the fourth, because we're from northern Minnesota and Wisconsin, passive aggressiveness. So what I mean by that, I could be like you know what, never mind, I'm not going to say anything. But no, so it's twofold. So let's say in business, right? Let's say your goal is to make $1 million in 5 years in your business, right? Or even personal, maybe in a year I want to lose 10 pounds, right? So you're passive and saying in those 5 years I will hit $1 million, or in the year I will lose 10 pounds. You already know what's going to happen. You're not worried or stressed out about it. Then you're aggressive in the day-to-day of doing smaller tasks that are going to kind of build up onto that. So for example, let's say with Ponder, right? You're okay, 5 years, I want $1 million. So you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, okay, I need to make $1 million right now. How am I going to do this and burn yourself out and stress yourself out? You're going to be more of okay, I know what's going to happen in 5 years. Great. So today I'm going to talk to Outcode. I'm going to check up with the developers. I'm going to look up 4 different animal shelters, right? You're doing those small mundane tasks, which ultimately kind of lead into that goal.
I literally could not have said it better. I mean, the spreadsheet that I have is the ultimate factual evidence of that statement. I have just done a shelter a day and I'm already on Florida, or I'm closer now, Idaho, I think. But my goal by the end of this year is to get down to Z and have every single animal shelter and have called every single animal shelter and email them. So what I do is I call first and then I send an email after I call, whether they answer or not, just so that they have the information. And it is exactly you have these, if you make a list of all the things that you have to get done in that 5 years to make that $1 million, that list is going to look like a freaking family of 5 grocery receipt.
Yeah, it's going to be way more.
You're going to look at that list and go, crumple, 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 let's just work a 9 to 5.
1,600 days.
You'd be let's work a 9 to 5 and not launch a business. And that's why being an entrepreneur is not easy.
No.
If you don't have, and just like you said before, I actually have a book that I bought from Barnes & Noble when I first started this journey. And basically, it's a book written by a female entrepreneur, and she takes other entrepreneurs' stories and puts it in this book, as well as a step by step what you should do. What is it? Are you okay with turning your hobby into a passion?
Yeah.
And that is one of the first things I ask myself. Am I okay with? Because I literally have rescued animals for years. I have countless. That's probably the one thing that in my memory that I can remember at any moment, because I have terrible memory. And it's just so bad. I'm oh God. And it's just incredible. What was I saying?
Your terrible memory.
I look at my terrible memory. And so I was was I okay with turning my hobby into my passion? I said, absolutely. I would love to do this every single day. If I could help people and animals every single day, amazing. But like you said, if you're just in it for the money, it's not going to mean anything. That money that you earned is not going to mean anything. A lot of these I feel bad for a lot of families that like grew up with money and like got really famous. Like, good for you. Like, there's some artists and like celebrities out there that like, good for you, dude. Like, you are a real top-notch human being, absolute world changer. Good for you. And then there's people that are just like not thinking and using what they're getting wisely. Like, you have so much money, you could legitimately change the world, and you're not doing anything that's gonna, even if it's like starting a charity or donating or whatever else, you're not living up to your full potential because your passion or your hobby turned into, I just want to make money. Not hobby into passion. And that's like where people get lost.
So I love that you're talking about this, because this is, so we stumbled upon this, right, with Investing Social. It was always, we came at it from the start of like entrepreneurs, right, like business owners. Why aren't they able to raise money? Rounds. And then we kind of looked at the other side of the equation, the investors, right? And like a lot of people, a big buzzword is like VC or venture capital, right? And a lot of founders think that in order to raise money, they have to go through VC firms. And truthfully, the matter of fact is like there's a lot of great VC firms out there, but like they're also a business, and most of the time they're probably doing a minimal amount of checks per year. So like they might take meetings all day, every day, and talk to like 10 different businesses per day, but they're likely probably going to invest, you know, on average of like 10 the entire year though. So what we kind of realized and figured out and found out was that angel investors are really the key to it. And exactly what you're talking about of like, you know, you're blessed with money, or you have some money sitting around or something like that. Instead of just having it sit around and not doing anything, there's opportunities to invest in like local companies. Like one story that we always kind of talk about, or I guess a customer case, is it's like, let's say, I don't know, you've had a 9-to-5 for forever, you have a bunch of money saved up in your Roth, or like 401k. Let's say there's a coffee shop down the street that you absolutely love, right? Like you go to it every day and you joke, you're like, hey, they should give me a ownership piece in it because, you know, I go here all the time. And let's say on the other side, the coffee shop, maybe like one of their espresso machines broke down, and they're going to have to kind of like shut down business for a while, or they're trying to go and like getting loans for $20,000 or something like that. The whole idea of Investing Social was to give a place where like we could facilitate that conversation of like, hey, you've never been an angel investor, but you're able to and could be, and like you have, again, like let's say disposable like $250,000 and they're looking for $20,000, and like you also would love to own a little piece of the company, and then instead of them going to the bank and just like only paying back loans and interest and stuff like that, they create a partnership and a relationship with the community.
Absolutely.
It's the communities investing in the communities. So it's almost like being able to turn a founder to a funder and vice versa. Almost like a cycle. So it's and that's what's been so fun.
So much fun.
We work with so many angel investors right now.
Ingenious.
We've worked with so many too that are like first time angel investors that have always wanted to be one. They just had no idea where to go or what to do or any of the education.
Smart. It's so smart, you know. And so how Ponder is because when my dad died, he left me a lump sum of money. And I was like, what am I going to do with this money? Like, it was like $40,000, and I was like, what? I have no idea. So I went to a financial advisor at Wells Fargo, and the person that I met with knew my dad.
Really?
Which, like, totally different town. It was so weird. He's like, I golfed with your dad. I'm so sorry for your loss. And I literally started crying, and I was like, this is fate that you are my freaking... So he was. He was my financial advisor for a really long time. And I put money away in a Roth, of course. And I was like, what else am I going to do? And I said, I'm going to start my business. Yeah. I was like, this is the money that... I said, I will fund... So I funded the $8,000 by myself. Mm-hmm. So when I lost out on that, I was like, that was a kick in the chest. I was like, holy, because I used my dad's money to like buy a car and like live a little bit, whatever I had, I gave myself, a couple $1,000 because like, come on.
You gotta spend it at the strip club, right?
Yeah, right.
That your bartender.
And so that $8,000 left, and I was like, what am I gonna do? And I looked at that money in my bank account, and I was like, you know what? It's gonna go somewhere. Like, I believe in myself so much. I believe in this business. I believe in this cause. Before I even ran the numbers, before I even looked at what the pet industry is worth, or how many sponsorships would want to work with me, or how many shelters even were in the U.S., I said, I know that people are looking for this type of app. Yeah. People are looking to get a very specific animal, and they can't find it because the network of animal shelters is so large that you can't check 4,000 websites in a day. And that is so impossible. And so this way, people can put that filter in and search for any animal you want. And right now, it's cats and dogs, but eventually, it'll be everything. Farm animals, reptiles, friggin' every animal or creature that you can think of that needs to be adopted, you are going to have the ability to adopt. Okay. And it's just, we're at the start. Like, we literally just launched, and it's just so incredible that instead of kind of what I was talking about today with my friend, he said, you know, I know sometimes you think that you should have finished your degree in veterinary science first. He said, I think you're wrong. He said, I think what you did is the exact thing you should have done, because you knew what you wanted your career to be, and instead of putting it towards a college education, you put it towards that goal. And now in the future, you want to get that degree, you'll have the option, but you'll already have a solid, legitimate business that you can work off of, and that is gonna, I mean, with the app, it's already like, after I owe like $1,000. Once that's paid off, that's it. Like, that's all that I owe. I have to pay, like, obviously trivial shit, but overall, like, I own this app that is going to bring me in money, and all I have to do is network. Yeah. All I have to do is call shelters and let them know that this is an awesome opportunity, and go there. And then once we get I want to get one shelter in each state by the end of this year. That's my goal for the next 6 months.
That's your passive goal.
That's my passive goal. And totally doable, right? After the first of the year, I will start attacking social media, businesses, bigger pet-related companies, the people, pet lovers, because the app is not just for pet finders and shelters and businesses. It's for every single person that loves their animal and wants to showcase their animal to the world. Because you can have a TikTok for your pet. Like, my dogs have all my animals have one TikTok that we post on. I know, super lame. It's fine. And no, you can have that, and that's fine. And Ponder's like, maybe down the line. I mean, we have our website, which has a forum that you can, like, you know, there's, like, your adoption story and that type of stuff. But typically, we just want to show communities, when you look on that map, we want to show you how many pet lovers are near you. We want to show you all the dogs and the cats and all the personalities that are around you, and we bring that to life. And it's like, it was so funny, too, because one of my points that I really wanted to talk to you today was the pressure of being a CEO. Oh, yeah. The weight on your shoulders, you just have, you know, all this that you have to figure out, and you have to do it by yourself or with a few other people, and it's still so stressful, and it's just like, it feels like you're trying to lift up a semi-truck, and you only can lift up, like, an inch at a time.
It's, there's a lot of pressure on you, that's for sure. I will say, though, to that, the pressure is also sort of, like, created by you, too, though.
Oh, absolutely.
So, there's two types of it, right? And there's, like, different levels of it. So, for example, like, if you're dealing with a large amount of money, especially, like, investors, and, like, they're investing in you and it's their money, like, you need to be as fiscally responsible as possible. You know, if they were to reach out to you tomorrow and be like, hey, I gave you $50,000, like, what have you used it for? How much do you have in the bank account? Like, you need to make sure that you have all those receipts and know exactly what you're doing. So there's, like, that type of pressure. But then there's also the pressure that, like, kind of probably keeps you up at night of, like, how am I going to sell this? How am I going to market it? Are people going to like it? You know, whatnot. I think that brings into a deeper discussion in business about, like, validation and traction.
Absolutely.
And again, like, this
reassurance, that positive, like, you're doing a great job. And typically, as business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are, you know, working really hard towards something, you typically don't get that recognition. Unless you have unless you have somebody like, okay, for example, we have a lot in common because we're both doing really great things and we've had to go through the same processes, and clearly you know way more than me. Oh my God. But it's like we have to learn, but we're learning together, and that brings us closer as friends. And it's kind of like I'm able to give you reassurance and you're able to give me reassurance. Like, hey, like, oh, this is your business? That's amazing. And it's the same goes, but not everybody that has ever, if you've never started a business or you've never done anything business-wise in your life, you're not going to be like, hey, you're doing really great. And maybe they are, but like, we shouldn't search for that recognition.
Yeah.
And we should be able to give it to ourselves because we don't get it enough.
And I think too, to the point of that, it's like searching for recognition, even just in your personal life, like can be so dangerous and toxic, right? It's almost like, it's like there's a lot of drugs out there, and that's the most powerful one of like, I need validation. Like that was something that I always needed growing up, and like even into high school and college, I'm like, I want validation. I want to like be told I'm doing well. And I think once you start changing your mindset of it, it's like, hey, the only person that I have to like take care of, and the only person who's going to matter is myself. And like, especially if, again, like you're in a career or like personal where you're doing something to benefit other people, I think that's where like a lot of the love comes into play, and then that's where the validation comes from. It's like being able, again, to help a founder like yourself and see that like you were in such a bad spot when we first talked, and now like you've launched and again are literally kicking ass. It's like, hey, it's great, and like that's my validation of like, hey, it's cool because like this is awesome. This is working.
Something that I did help this happen.
This is needed. Yeah.
And it really was, because I didn't know anybody. I mean, I didn't know anybody that started their own business, and it was really hard. The pressure was on me because, well, one, family pressure is huge.
Oh, sure.
When you're like, hey, I'm starting a business. I mean, I just remember my family, me being like, oh, hey, I'm going to start this business. And they're like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure you want to spend money on that? Like, you're going to put more money into it? That's crazy. And at that point, I just went ghost. I just did my own thing. I needed to do, like, I was still, at family events, but when people were like, how's your thing going? I'm like, oh, it's going great. Like, short and sweet, short and simple. Yeah. And then when I launched, my family was like, especially my granny, oh my gosh, the most judgy, like my dad's mom. So hard ass central. And it launched, and I actually invited her to my first event to work it, and my twin brothers, and she got to see not only the incredible things that we're doing, but me in action.
I love that.
Which is incredible. And she was like, after, like, even my mom too, after we had got done with our events, they were like, oh, I had this idea and this idea, because now it was reality. Now it was in your face, like my banner is in your face. Like Peyton did it, you did it. It's not just like an idea.
It's
not an idea. It really happened. And so that was like that, like, they haven't given me, like, my granny will never be like, you're doing really great. But, like, her being like, oh, you know what else you should do? And, like, giving me those ideas is like, I already thought about that, silly. Like, I'm already 10 steps ahead of you, but thank you. And it's like, that's where that CEO pressure for me fades. Because I know that if there's anybody that's going to be able to do it, it's 100% me. Especially, like, if I was in, like, laying concrete. I'm like, I don't know what the F I'm talking about. Like, I don't know what I'm doing out here.
Then you should be.
My feet are going to get stuck. But it's for animals, and it's so funny because it's such a whirlwind of emotions. Like, you literally don't know what you're doing, and you're jumping headfirst because you have this feeling of, I really want to try. And that's why I think with Investing Social, it's so important, because there's so many business owners that have such a good idea, such an amazing atmosphere, but they don't have that traction of, who do I know? Who can help me? And like, for these investors, these angel investors, to be like, oh, because like, how does it work necessarily? Like, when you get into, like, tell me the function of it. I know we're kind of running out of time, but I definitely.
So, first I want to say, like, our main thing is to connect entrepreneurs and investors together, right? But like, if you're someone who has a business idea, or like maybe you have a lawn care business where you would never raise money in the first place, like, we still offer a great social networking platform for you, as well as like educational things of like anything from like, you know, what's the best times to post on TikTok for marketing, all the way to like what's 83B election for vesting schedules and 409A valuations.
That's
you know
amazing.
what I mean? Which, if anyone's listening who has a business, be sure you know 83B election. Just look it up, especially when we launch, you'll know. But anyways, so there's a few components to investing social. So the first, there's like a social feed, almost like a regular LinkedIn. We use a lot of algorithmic like technology to make sure that like stuff is always fresh, new, kind of like people who you never thought you would connect with or reach out to, or kind of showing on your feed.
Always okay.
Yeah. We call it our database screens, and so that's like the navigation of the platform. So if you can envision in your head, it's like two donut graphs. One is like businesses, and the other are investors. From there, like you can kind of filter it out to exactly like this is who I'm exactly looking for, or whatever.
My target market.
Correct. As well as like we have this thing called smart matches, which is super cool. That's like kind of I hate to use the buzzword AI, but that's kind of our AI stuff. So we're building machine learning algorithms in there that basically, let's say you're an investor, right? My name's Peyton. I'm an investor. I really like tech companies that are at the pre-seed stage, doing under $1 million in revenue, located in Duluth, Minnesota, right? So we're taking all that into account, but also at the same time, we're also seeing like, hey, what companies is Peyton also looking at on our platform? Who is she interacting with? Maybe this might be a good recommended match. So then we kind of filter that and show that. We also obviously have like messaging in there, watch lists. My favorite feature right now that we're doing is the education section. So like any entrepreneur, especially watching this, or even just like a personal thing, it's like, you know, if something breaks on your car, or you know, how do I create an income statement? You're probably going to YouTube or Googling it, right?
Yeah.
Like regardless of whatever the problem is.
Absolutely.
So we've created an education place within the platform where there's a bunch of free resources, again, of like quick videos or blog posts on like anything from marketing to financials to legal, like operations, anything that you could imagine on there.
That is amazing.
For free. And then we also have like a mentor and advisor aspect to it. So like if you're looking for like a mentor or advisor in your local area, or like again, maybe you want to start a business but you have no idea where to start, you can sign up, start kind of testing out your idea, and then like going job shadowing someone who's a local entrepreneur who wants to give back. So that's where we're at right now with the platform. I'm very excited for it. We have about 34,000 leads lined up for us. We have a bunch of licenses sold all across the country already. So like once we launch, like anyone who wants to sign up, there's going to be some quality users for y'all.
So then that brings us to, I think, the biggest question out of that whole thing is, when are you launching?
That's a great question. So we're currently slated for a launch in fall this year, between October/November. You can sign up at investingsocial.com. We also have a landing page right now where you can kind of like fill out and just basically you would become a lead for us. Again, that's either at investingsocial.com or investlink.social. You just ask for like your first name, last name, email address, all that. Then you'll get continuous updates until we launch. We also are doing right now manual connections. So for example, let's say someone like Peyton was to enter in their information right now, we're going to get that. And if you are currently raising or like looking for kind of partnerships or business partnerships, whatever it may be, we're manually connecting some people too.
Amazing.
So it's kind of like a luck of the draw. If you have an idea, sign up, and we might connect you to some people early.
Get freaking connected. That is like, it's heaven sent, and I am so excited because, one, sure, I could have used it 2 years ago, but you're damn sure I'm going to use it as soon as it. Yeah.
You are so like just to go on a quick super tangent. Like I'm so proud of you. I think it's great, and like you 2 years ago using it, it wouldn't have worked.
I don't think it would have worked.
And that's not to say that like it's because of the situation you were in or like what idea was that. Like ideas and like building are great, but now you're at the part where like you've launched, you have some users, like now you're super attractive to investors.
Yes, we know exactly what our mission is. We know, and that is exact. And no, you're totally right. Because 2 years ago, I knew, like I said, nothing, and I'm not gonna go into an investor and be like, hey, I know nothing, invest. Like, come on. And so that is just, I'm so excited. I'm so proud. I'm so proud to even know you, to like literally have you on the podcast is incredible. I mean, it really is like fate that you're like, I'm in Duluth. I was like, come on my podcast. He's like, okay. I was like, no way, he's coming. And it's just, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you're going to be here for a little bit. That's even better. And so what are you planning, before we go, what are you planning to do here? Like, what's your kind of baseline of where you want?
That's a great question. So my domestic world tour, I will be gone for, I think I'm traveling like 13 days in August and like September, similar. But when I'm up here in Duluth or, Minneapolis, I've been a part of a lot of like tech ecosystems out west, right? From Vegas to Salt Lake City to Phoenix and a Bay Area, a few others. And I feel like that's something that is sort of missing out here in like the Duluth and Minneapolis region. I know there's like smaller groups in it, but like I want to be able to kind of come in and create this large ecosystem where it's full of quality, right? Like quantity's great, but like bringing in quality where it's like, if I was to shake someone's hand, I would know exactly right then and there that I can bring value to them and they can bring value to me, rather than like a one-way thing. So that's the goal here, is creating that group ecosystem where it's basically like meeting once a month or something, or having like we do these things out west called like VC reverse pitch events. So instead of like, you get a big room together, right? Shout out Jeff Erickson and Bree. They're incredible founders and funders. But what they do is they put a large like room together of quality, and then instead of the businesses going up on stage and pitching, they have the VC firms go up on stage and pitch for like 5 minutes. So they talk about their firm, their investment, their thesis. So it's almost like we're putting the investors on the spot. But then it's kind of like this fun thing where, that again, that breaks down walls and barriers.
Absolutely.
And it's just a good time. So
I went to we have a women's expo at the deck every year, and I have a spot this next, because I usually model. I usually model for it. I've done it a few years, and it's so much fun. And so I asked if I could have a booth this year, and they're like, absolutely. And so we have a booth. I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
But last year at the Women's Expo, I had to be on stage or in the back getting ready at a certain time. But at the same time, there was a women entrepreneur panel happening. And so I was late to get ready because I had to go at least watch half of this panel.
Yeah.
And there was like 5 people on the panel. There was like a councilwoman and a woman that owned a brewery and a woman that does this. And then one of the women was an animal rescue, a nonprofit animal rescue organization, and she was the starter. And immediately I resonated with her, and I kept trying to get in contact with her the entire time.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it was so nice that panel was there, and that we could ask them questions, and I'm a very good questions asker, so I did ask questions. But it was nice that I can be like, okay, so now when my business starts to get bigger and bigger, I already have this connection. I'll be like, I watched you at the Women's Expo last year. Do you remember me? Type deal. And no, it really is incredible. I mean, the feeling of doing something that you love and that it's also benefiting the world is just, and that's why we made the app free for us. And it's just because I knew that no shelter is going to look at this app and be like, oh, I have to pay to even use it. Like, no, there's no way. And that's not what we want. We want shelters to use it because we want to get your animals adopted. And we want, a lot of people ask me, they're like, you're doing such great things with Ponder. Are you going to add breeders? Are you going to allow breeders to post on the app? And I say no, because we're trying to get away. Granted, and there's nothing wrong with breeders, of course, because some dogs are specifically bred for certain tasks. And that's totally normal. It's the people that are breeding, like, pugs, which I have a pug. And I love her to death, but man, she's out here struggling. Even on a day like today, I know she's struggling with breathing. Or like French bulldogs, and like they're super cute, but they're not actual like the reason for breeding.
Say it how it is, Paige.
Like, Great Pyrenees is...
We're getting opinionated now.
Yeah. We'll stay away from this. But, like, because, I mean, I rescued, Roscoe, I rescued from a woman whose dogs had an accidental litter, and they needed a home. Got him for $200 at a Walmart parking lot. It was signed, sealed delivery. Best dog I ever had. We got Nama. We rescued her from an animal sanctuary. And she was way more expensive, and so it was like we were going to a breeder.
Yeah.
Actually, we thought we were rescuing her. Actually, we found out later that this woman was breeding a gray wolf. So she told us this whole story about how they found this wolf in the woods with a husky, and she happened to be pregnant with 10 puppies, but that wasn't true. And it's a whole thing, and I'll tell you too. It's crazy that how we found out, but. I was so guilty for so long because I was like, dude, I literally am creating an app for animals in animal shelters, and then my dogs got pregnant. It was like, oh my gosh, it was like the worst feeling. I was like, I am putting these animals out into the world when there's so many animals that need homes. And granted, there was nothing I could do. It's not like you can... Well, you can do puppy abortions, but that's sad. That's so sad. I was not about to do that. And
again, super opinionated.
That is so sad. Are you kidding me? Your kid kills
hot button
puppies.
Topics.
And good thing we're on the World Changers channel, and this is a safe place. But no, and I felt really guilty, and so when I was searching for homes, I knew that the homes that I was searching for were going to be specified to these dog breeds. You need to live in a cold climate. And all of them are in the area, and it's very cool. But it was just like, we want to give these options for shelters to get adopted because they're just sitting there. Yeah. All the puppies know, all the breeders know is love, happiness, and life, which is amazing. But there's a statistic that it's like 4 out of 10 puppies that are bred end up in animal shelters.
Wow.
And that is terrible, and that is so sad. But it happens because, it happens all the time. And so that is why when we're talking about ecosystems, that I'm so grateful of the ecosystem that I have created when it comes to Ponder and when it comes to my World Changers channel. And I mean, like, we're literally future president. Like, do I want to be future president? Maybe a little bit, but not actually. I mean, I feel like I could make a lot of change, but I think I can make a lot of change without having to be president,
Sure. Yeah.
So, and plus 35, like, I'm only 26 in 2 days. So it's like,
happy early birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. And I know I got a meow game mat for my birthday today. I'm cleaning out my friend's house.
Nice.
He's like, I got an extra, and I was like, happy freaking birthday, baby. And and the community that we've created is like, we're just world changers, and that's like, before, I'd go on the game, and I'd go on Call of Duty, and I'd be like, beep, 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 beep. Like, and now I'm like, you have such a good day. I hope you guys, and they're like, this is Call of Duty, suck a dick. And I'm like, I just hope you have the best day. Like, you're just so cool. And like, I'll pitch the app while we're playing the game. Like, you should download Ponder. And my friend's always like, oh god, here she goes again. Like, same conversation 1,000 times a day.
But that's your passion.
But
that's the first P.
And if I hear a dog barking in the background, I'm of course gonna go, have you heard of Ponder?
Yeah, no.
It's every and I think that's the last thing I want to talk about, is that there is always opportunity.
Yes.
If you look for it, you will find opportunity, whether you're just out, even when I was at the parade, seeing that the news camera and being like, see, that's why I have that second gate. She just jumped that first one. Sucker. Get a husky, they said. And, no, it's really great. And even our friendship is a huge opportunity. I mean, for you, I guess a little bit, because I know whatever. But, like, for me, 10 out of 10. I'm friggin' choose the right friends. That's for sure. No, I'm a bad girl.
Oh, yeah, there she is.
No, I'm a bad girl. I'm not coming over here. So I think, is there anything else that you'd want to sum up?
Yeah. So I think, kind of leading on to what you were talking about, like, first off, like, this is a very mutually beneficial relationship because, again, it's like, the more quality we have on the platform, the better. And
Absolutely.
like your quality now, which
Absolutely.
is fantastic. You know, I think bringing on to kind of the opportunity thing, which I love. Everyone starts at different kind of levels or like where they're at. Some have more resources, others don't.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's why we created Investing Social, was to have kind of like a level playing field, because again, there's no reason why less than 2%, 98% of minority and women-owned startups even see a single dollar. There's no reason that should happen. And I think to the point too, no matter where you start at, if you have that passion and determination, everyone does have the same 24 hours in a day. You know, it does. Like sometimes it's hard to like get into mode or like work and stuff like that, but even just like doing it, like a thing of exercise that I always do when I'm kind of like stuck or lost, and I learned this from Charlie Jablin and an incredible Charlie Rocket. I don't know if anyone knows. I know Luke knows him, but it was a win the day type of thing, and this is kind of what all ended on here is, and this falls into that passive aggressive thing, but like winning the day. It's like, let's say you take a notebook, right? It can't be digital because it doesn't have the same effect. You take a notebook, and on that first day, you write down 3 to 5 tasks. And those tasks could be everything about your business, could be everything about losing those 10 pounds, or it could just be something simple like go on a walk, do laundry, something like that. But you start getting into a rhythm and routine where like every task you do, you put like a check mark or a W next to it, right? And if you finish those, after the end of each day, you put a W at the top.
Absolutely.
And once you continue doing that, say for 10 days in that notebook, like a page each day, you start, maybe you're having a bad day, right? And you look back and you realize, whoa, I just won those 10 days and I did all of this and I'm kicking ass. So
I'm not going to stop now. It's going to give me that motivation.
Exactly, and you get the momentum. So I think, you know, everyone watching this and like listening to this and will like in the future who watch or listen to this, it's everyone has it inside of them. Just like go and chase your dreams. Believe in your intuition. Like don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it, because if you stick with it, if you're passionate about it, if you're persistent, all the 4 Ps, you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. I think that is the best. I think out of this whole entire podcast, if anybody takes away anything, it's going to be the 4 Ps. Absolutely. And I will actually put that in the description as well on the YouTube channel.
I gotta trademark it soon. I'm telling you.
You really should. Absolutely, you should. So I think I'm good. I'm super grateful that you came on. I'm just.
Thank you for having me.
What a great podcast! I think we're at like an hour and some change, an hour and 7 minutes, which is awesome because that's the attention span of people is like way shorter.
Mine is like 3 minutes.
Yeah, way shorter than that. So you'll watch this whole thing because you were in it, but like typically people don't watch. That's why I decided to do World Changers channel, because if somebody's searching for that advice, they're going to find it through this channel. I mean, this is literally a place where we're all just trying to change the world in whatever way we can, whether that, my mom used to say to me, you put too much pressure on yourself, because I say I'm going to change the world. And I say, oh, I know. Absolutely put a lot of pressure on myself. But you know what? I have to, because I legitimately want to change the world. And you can't sit there and say, I want to do something, and then just put no energy into it. Yeah. And nothing's going to happen. And so exactly like you said, you do a little things every single day to make sure that, whether it's like cleaning, like I deep clean the house, right? And that gets my mind clear, because now I can focus on the work on the computer, because I know that everything's done. And
you've like started to have that momentum.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, now that I finished cleaning and everything, I have a clean space. Let's get into the thing I was going to do today. So I am so grateful. Thank you again so much for coming on. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. We do these podcasts on Monday so that we can wish you a good week. And we hope that you're successful. And we hope that you take that step forward today that you didn't take yesterday because you were scared. And this podcast is your sign to do what you believe in. And we believe in you just as much. And so, all right.
Go win the day tomorrow and then win the week. I want you to do, don't go to my website. Don't do anything.
And what was that website again?
InvestingSocial.com or investlink.social. You can also reach me at growth@investingsocial.com.
Okay.
But if you don't go to the website, just get that notebook out, write down 3 tasks, win the day, get the ball rolling.
Get the ball, win the day, win the week.